Why don't we let it start in this church on this day? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce to you one of Virginia's very own and still a conservative voice in our state and our nation, General Ken Cuccinelli.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here, and it is an honor to be in Patrick Henry territory. At the heart of the Commonwealth of Virginia, the home of presidents, where I am proud to endorse the next president of the United States, Senator Ted Cruz, for that office. We, myself included, often look around at our political circumstances and the circumstances of our country, and it's easy to get a little bit depressed. But on March 23rd, 1775, when Patrick Henry was calling for revolution, he was doing it against the most powerful nation in the world, with no military to speak of on their side, no track record, but a firm commitment to what are now the first principles of this country, which they acknowledged and we acknowledge come from God himself. Am I right? And as tough as things are today, I think that demands a president up to those challenges. A president who doesn't just talk about how big our debt is, but recognizes what a threat to our strength it is, to our nation, to our children that it is, some of whom I hear here. And that's a good thing. Don't be, mothers get upset, but I have 7 kids, so, it sounds like dinner in here, that's all. But someone who is committed to protecting life and families and their primacy in our society, who knows the judiciary. Senator Cruz clerked for Chief Justice Rehnquist, not Justice Kennedy, not Justice Ginsburg, but Chief Justice William Rehnquist, and went on to serve the Bush administration in the FTC. Now, a lot of you don't know this. I saw his time there described very well recently. This is in the early part of the last decade. It was as if Milton Friedman were writing policy for the FTC. That's how I saw it described recently. Isn't that the kind of person you want running for president? It's the kind of person I want. That was more than a decade before he ever ran for the U.S. Senate. He was doing it because it was the right thing to do. And wouldn't it be nice to have that in a president? It's quite a contrast with today. Quite a contrast. He then went on to be the Solicitor General of Texas. Obviously, being an Attorney General, I have an affinity for Solicitors General, and he did an unbelievable job there. He had some of the most extraordinary cases before the Supreme Court during the last decade, and he won them. He won them. Wouldn't you like to win? I want to win, and I am proud to be endorsing a winner. Because of some of those wins, the 10 Commandments sit at the Capitol in Texas today. Because of one of those wins, an unbelievable international case where others were trying to stop Texas from utilizing their death penalty. Now, whatever you think about the death penalty, I think each state should decide what they think about the death penalty. Texas has decided. And don't mess with Texas. And that was what they were trying to do. Well, and they went all the way to the Supreme Court. They made a federal case out of it, as they say. The Medellin case. Anybody ever heard that name? Remember the cartel by that name? They were trying to stop Texas from executing someone associated with that cartel. Well, it had the same name anyway. And this international interference with Texas's own business was stopped in the Supreme Court by none other than now Senator Ted Cruz. How about that, American sovereignty? I tease then Attorney General Abbott, now Governor Abbott, and their current Attorney General Ken Paxton, that tell them, you guys in Texas act like you're a country just because you were, and they still act that way. Well, we need that kind of leadership for this country. And I hear an awful lot of good things out of a lot of candidates right now. We have what I consider to be the best field of candidates since I've been able to vote. Now, I came of age just after Reagan was reelected, so I didn't get a shot at voting for Reagan. If we could have spread this field across all those elections, I'd have someone better to vote for in every election for president than I actually had. And yet, when I look for all of the things like a commitment to life and family and a commitment to fixing our judiciary, which is sorely in need of fixing, who will fight the establishment in Washington, which is so much a source of all of our problems. Not just talk about it, but have a proven track record of doing it. Senator Ted Cruz stands alone. He stands alone, and that's why I'm proud to endorse him today. That's why I'm proud to endorse him. He has also been in other fights that we want our people in, that we want our so-called leaders to be engaged in, that they promised us they would engage in. You remember all those promises? And then they crossed the Potomac. What happened? I don't know what that Potomac does to people, but it's very, very bad. Well, I think Ted went around. He didn't cross the Potomac because it didn't happen to him. And there are a few others up there like that. But he is the leader. He is recognized as the national leader. People in the House who are good, our allies in the House recognize Ted Cruz as a national leader in contending with the Washington establishment. And if you want to fix the way Washington works, sending somebody who has a track record of fighting these folks, not going along to get along, and fighting when it cost them something. How many of you have ever seen John McCain fight as hard with a Democrat as he does with Ted Cruz? I've never seen it. Have you ever seen it? Or Mitch McConnell. Has he ever fought as hard with Democrats as he does with Ted Cruz? No. And yet, fight after fight, Ted is where we need him to be. He is where we need him to be. He's where America needs him to be. Whether it is defending our borders from massive immigration and amnesty, something that some people are trying to muddy the waters about these days, where he has a spectacular track record defending our country and defending the rule of law itself. And that is, I will say, it's a great field of candidates, but that's a rare thing among these candidates. That is a very rare thing among these candidates. And yet we have it with Senator Ted Cruz. We don't have to compromise. How many of you have, helped some candidate in the past and said, oh, this is all there is left. He's less bad than the other guy. Yeah, woo, there's enthusiasm, huh? I want a candidate who I know understands the Constitution. I want someone who knows why they're a conservative, who understands natural law and understands that it is the cornerstone, and it's in the Declaration of Independence, the cornerstone of our country, and it is worthy of protection and of fighting for it. That's what I want in a president. Is that what you want in a president? And is it really too much to ask to have a president who will call our mortal enemies what they are? Islamic radical terrorists. Is that too much to ask?